wants to fundamentally transform America. We were promised that. 5 days out, candidate Barack Obama had told us what was going to happen, and too many people, though, just wanted so much that hope, that opportunity that he had promised. And now we know that without that flowery rhetoric, though, it was empty promises, it was false hope, but we had been warned. These transformers, they're promoted by a complicit leftist media. Call them the lamestream media, because I don't think that they represent the mainstream of America. They kind of play off of one another. And I know it's not a smart thing to pick a battle with those who buy ink by the barrel full, but I'm kind of wired that way. It's just sort of can't help it. I call it like I see it. And when they get something wrong and they have an obvious bias in their reporting when they are supposed to be about just the facts, man, well, then I do call them out. And that's probably why I don't have the greatest relationship with the mainstream media. Imagine that. But that far left media, though, and the leftist elites who want to make us feel like we just don't have enough sense to understand that this transformation of America ultimately will be good for us. So I think we have plenty of sense, and we certainly have this knowledge of what is going on, and that is why, again, we're here to say, no, enough is enough, and we're going to turn things around. These leftist elites work to destroy the very capitalist system that created the wealth that they so enjoy and the opportunities that they've been able to seize. And you probably don't like the idea of taxing success any more than I do, but maybe, there's a couple of guys I think I could make an exception for lately as these elitist billionaires who are funding some of the leftist agenda come on down the pike. Today, folks, we have a president and a Congress who seem determined to transform our once prosperous, the most voluntarily generous, safest, and healthiest country on the planet, wanting to transform that into an America that most of us would not recognize. An America that is dangerously in debt and has a bleaker economic future. An out-of-control government that spends without ever bothering to ask who's gonna pay for it all. And I hear this beautiful sound of life. I hear a child, a baby in the audience, and I think, oh my goodness, what we are doing to this child with our selfish, short-sighted decisions today for our wants and our needs. We're mortgaging this individual, this beautiful human being's future, his or her opportunities. We are engaging in generational theft, and that's immoral and it's unethical, and heaven forbid that we do this to the next generation of Americans. But that's what's going on with economic decisions that are short-sighted being made in this Congress and in the White House today. We've got politicians borrowing billions in foreign debt to bail out and pay off their chosen entities, and then those chosen entities turn right around and contribute to that politician's coffers. That's unethical, it's corrupt, it's not an American system that we have to stand for. And then too, we've got a president who apologizes left and right, these apology tours, serving up all of this apology tour as some kind of transformative foreign policy, but all it is doing is making us less strong and less safe. Now, when we see a government that is refusing to protect our own borders, then we know that this transformation is not good. It is nonsense. When we see a Congress government takeover of health care down the throats of the American people in the form of Obamacare, the mother of all unfunded mandates, and then this Congress skips town without passing a budget or stopping the largest tax increase in U.S. history that's going to just slam us to the mat come January 1. They skip town. They don't lift a finger to stop the tax hikes that are coming January 1. $3.8 trillion will be the equivalent of the tax hikes over these coming years. And so many small businesses are going to be forced to tap out with all this uncertainty that is created by this January 1st date that is looming with tax increases. Well, when we see that, we know that we're on the wrong track. No, an America with less freedom and less opportunity and lowered expectations, run by a detached and a distant and an arrogant kind of ruling class over us that doesn't listen, doesn't seem to care about the middle class, about, as Ronald Reagan would put it respectfully, he'd call all of us the little guy. Well, when they're not listening to the little guy, I have to ask you, are you ready to take it back and put government back on the side of the little guy? Couldn't have said it better myself. There, it summed it up. Throw the bones out. Amen, brother. You betcha. As he's so eloquently putting it, what he is saying is truly the time has come for us to stand up and take our government back for the little guy, as Reagan would respectfully call all of us. 2 weeks from now, that's exactly what I believe the American people are going to do. This country needs leaders with the courage to make the tough calls, who believe in smaller, smarter government and lower federal taxes and policies that build up America and don't tear her down, don't tear down her businesses, her families, we as individuals, but have policies that can empower us and allow our spirit to soar again. We need leaders who will stand up for that little guy and listen once again. Because ultimately, what we need right now in America, we need jobs. We need jobs. In almost 2 years, of the liberal policies that have failed our economy, they've driven America to the brink. And it's so bad, even his own economic advisors in the White House are jumping ship faster than, rats off the Titanic. But these economic advisors, they're all like, wasn't me, I'm out of here. Wasn't me. These czars, these advisors, they're scurrying back to academia and they're kind of running for the hills. They're running from their policies that are resulting in huge debt being accumulated and enormously large deficits and high unemployment. Yet the president had promised that unemployment wouldn't go above 8%. Remember when it was at 7.9%? It wouldn't go above 8% if only Congress would just rush through that nearly $1 trillion stimulus package. Really, it's been a boondoggle, and nobody seemed to have time to read it, as some folks were crafting it, and they were really busy, too busy to read it, and no time for debate, and that's the Pelosi way. As she says, you got to pass the thing first before we find out what's in it. That's what she referred to Obamacare. Wow, when I was governor, some of those dollars that were coming down into Alaska, I vetoed those dollars because I knew that basically I looked at a lot of the stimulus dollars as being bribes to states where, it was so tempting to take this money. And the legislatures, they hold the purse strings to a state budget. They wanted to take the money, and for a lot of conservative governors, the legislature would go around. There was language within the stimulus bill to make sure that the lawmakers could be the ones to go around a governor and take the money anyway. And through litigation, there were threats all the time of lawmakers saying, well, we'll sue the governor even. We'll somehow go around and make sure that we get those money. But I was warning our lawmakers that this isn't free money. Ultimately, it does come out of our pocket. You can't just print more money. Oh, yeah, I guess they do think that they can print more money, because about a week from now, we're going to see monetizing of our debt, where basically you're going to see some more free money printed. So as governor, I vetoed some of those funds, knowing... Thank you. Vetoing some of those because fat strings are attached to federal monies when they come to a state. Or you have to become more beholden to a big centralized government in Washington, D.C. If you accept their money, they have more control over how that money is spent. So, in vetoing it, my Republican-led legislature overrode my veto because too many of the Republicans, even within the machine, thought that somehow, some way, it was going to be free money and nobody would have to be held accountable. So, some of us trying to do something about that, still knowing, though, that what was in that stimulus package, some of the examples that we have seen where those dollars have gone are just atrocious. And now we even have the president finally admitting, oh, there's kind of no such thing as a shovel-ready project. Yeah. Well, now we know what it was that they were shoveling and it wasn't asphalt, borrowed money. It was debt debt-ridden, fat strings-attached money, making us more beholden to other countries when we borrow that money from. And that is what I talk about when again, I hear the sound of a child and I think about her future, and I think, what are we doing to these kids as we steal the opportunities from them, spending $1 trillion on projects that many weren't necessary, many were part of boondoggles, and many were just political favoritism projects, and now we see proof of that. There's some vindication, but it doesn't make me feel any better to have that vindication where even the president finally says, oh yeah, okay, I guess. That's naivete, that's stubbornness, that's a lack of experience that's being made manifest in the White House. It's a lack of any kind of business sense. We have to wonder sometimes though, is it innocence naivete or is it purposeful? Does it really all come down to, well, basically what our president has told us, he wants to spread the wealth around. What that is, taking from someone, doing a project or financing a program for somebody else over here, that is taking wealth from some and spreading it to others. And there again, as a candidate, he told Joe the plumber that that's what he was going to do, didn't he? So now we're listening, and now we're seeing the fruit of that. But here we are 20 months later, and almost 15 million of our fellow Americans are out of work, almost